All right, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I am on the phone with Winnie. We have just completed our sleep transformation for two of her girls, a 17-month-old and a 3-year-old girl. And so, Winnie, why don't you tell me what life looked like before you called me?
Like life before Joanna was pretty dire from a sleep perspective. Both girls actually co-slept with dad every night. So our nights ended or started, however you want to look at it, at 8 p.m. all the way until the next day. And they had night wakings, crying, and so it lasted like that for probably a good 4 to 6 months until we decided that enough was enough. We needed some help.
Yeah, and it was hard. It was hard on dad because he had to disappear in that room and he literally could not leave the room, and the girls were competing for his attention the entire time he was in the room. So
Yes.
this was not a peaceful co-sleeping situation. This was a
No.
17-month-old and a 3-year-old competing for dad, having tantrums, staying awake, dancing around, pleading, lots of pleading to lay down. And then, of
Yep.
course, lots of middle of the night shenanigans all the way through.
Yep.
So dad
Mhm.
was exhausted. And of course,
Yep.
there was like no family time because dad disappeared by 8 o'clock every night and
Mhm.
would,
Yep.
totally disconnected from everything else. And the naps
Yeah,
were
our
bad.
whole house was actually shut down. So because we live on a single floor, yeah, the girls needed complete darkness and silence throughout the entire house to even consider falling asleep.
Yeah. And there was bedtime dramas even trying to get him into the room. So it wasn't even like,
Yeah.
right. It wasn't even like
Mhm.
the chaos started at 8 p.m. It started, the bedtime dramas and requesting and everything started before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that was mom's kind of pulling, saying, okay, we need to do something. But tell me, dad, I remember dad was kind of like, I don't know. So tell me about dad's kind of,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I had brought this up back in December, and it took us all the way until June to finally make that decision. Yeah, he was skeptical. He didn't think that getting a sleep consultant would like at least put in any kind of a permanent fix. We had talked about how do we get 3 hours back in our night so that we can either do work, spend time together. Uh, and yeah, he was a big skeptic on whether it would work and the amount of like involvement that it would take to actually get through it. And yeah, and then sometimes the girls would go through periods of like not crazy tantrums and resistance. And so he would think that it would get a little bit better, but it was always just temporary.
right, right. So it was kind of like, and this happens a lot with families. Everyone knows there's a problem. You don't
Yeah.
quite know how to solve it. And there's usually one parent that's like, I think I found the answer. And then there's another
And
parent,
then it,
then there's another parent that's like, I don't know. And then that brings in arguments and discontentment and resentment and all of those
mhm.
yucky feelings show up. And so Winnie was like, okay, enough's enough. I think I've identified the person that can help us. And we got on the call, and I think Conan felt
Mhm.
comfortable that this was something that he was willing to
Mhm.
give his full effort to. And what was great is that Conan, being the co-sleeping dad, he took on the responsibility of all the nighttime coaching, and we did that on purpose.
Mhm.
And now, and he was an amazing coach, and he was super committed to the process. And
Mhm.
we had some good times along the way, lots of laughter, because that's important to me. That this is not a drudgery.
Mhm.
But tell me how it was going through the process, especially since you were more of the witness of it. And then
Mhm.
tell me now what you feel like, how life looks different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the beginning of the process, everyone would have thought that I would have been the appropriate coach, and I was the one that was really adamant that Con, my husband, had to be the one in there because for him to actually see the evolution of how the kids react. And actually be a believer of the process, he needed to, like, he's a very active, engaged learner as well. And so for him to be the coach, it was really rough the first few nights, but But he came out of it having a completely different appreciation for sleep cycles, research, science, you name it.
Yes, definitely. And I agree. It is literally an experiential learning process. And
Yeah.
and once dad got into the flow of that, he was like, oh yeah, okay. And that allowed him to stay committed and focused and
Mhm.
energized. So tell me what life looks like now. Okay. So okay, I should also say one of their big wish lists was both girls need to share a room successfully. We need them
Yes.
in their own beds, meaning no more
Hmm.
co-sleeping, but
Yeah.
sharing a room and having appropriate bedtimes, and have it be drama-free bedtimes for each of them, and then the two girls loving sharing their room together. So that was a big,
Yes.
from where we started to that wish list, that seemed eons, like eons. Even I was like,
Yes.
okay, I'm really good at wish lists, but wow, all right, we can do it.
Yeah, because there was actually four beds in the room before. There was the crib, the mattress, the bunk bed, toddler bunk bed, and all three of them were on the mattress on the floor.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the end result now is the 3-year-old is on the bottom bunk, and then my 17th month old is back in the crib, fully goes down to sleep within seconds of putting her down. She says good night, and then she just like sits back down. No fuss, no muss, just out in seconds. And she gets a full 11 to 12 hours of sleep every night. And then my 3.5-year-old like gets in and tucks herself into bed every night. We never thought that could happen. Both kids used to resist, and they're very vocal, and will throw every excuse out there. Yeah. So just from their sleep perspective has been great. And then for us, we've been able to probably get back anywhere between 3 to 4 hours every night. To both of us work pretty demanding jobs, so we've had the ability to do extra work at night, watch the movie, share a glass of wine. Yeah, no, it's been, and just the consistency of knowing that it'll work is probably the biggest factor for us. Yeah, it's just the unpredictability of the night never allowed us to make plans, and now we can.
Yes, yes. And not only make plans, but now it doesn't matter who puts the girls down. So it can be
Mhm.
mom, dad, grandma, nanny, babysitter.
Yeah,
Not that anyone's going anywhere because it's COVID, but we've made sure we've made sure
yeah,
that any typical caregivers that might make an appearance are all capable of doing nights and naps,
yeah,
because
yeah.
the 17-month-old is still taking a nap, and again she's loving her nap in her own crib in her room. And now we're even finding that the Hagen, the older child, the 3-year-old, is now willing to take naps again, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But just yes, I agree, Winnie, that the idea of knowing what your evening is going to look like when you guys eat dinner, when you're having the downtime, when they're bathing, and when they're asleep, so that you can look and plan your evening for yourself, as
Mhm.
an individual, as a mother, or for yourself as a couple, or if you
Yeah.
need to attend to some personal or professional tasks,
Mhm.
so that you can complete your day. And there's just that feeling of time back is
Yeah.
so, it's life altering.
Yeah.
Um,
No, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So what would you say to any family that's like, I don't know if this is going to work. I've tried everything and nothing's going to work. What would you say?
Yeah, and so we actually went through the whole journey of talking to different consultants, fighting it off, reading books, trying all the different methodologies, thinking that, okay, nothing's going to work on our kids. And I even had girlfriends that I was kind of messaging as we were going through the program as well, because everyone wants to know. It's like everyone loves a sleep consultant. Like, tell me exactly what their secret is. My girlfriend actually got the play-by-play of what we were doing, and it still wasn't directly translatable on how to do it for them. And they also had two kids. And I kind of address that. I kind of attribute that to a lot of the customized approach and the working to your child's temperament and needs approach that Joanna takes through the sleep coaching process. And and we personally also needed a lot of one-on-one coaching, and just knowing, and that security of knowing that, hey, what we're doing here is right and we're not doing anything to harm our kids.
Exactly. Yes. So, yes, it is, there's this feeling often that it's this terrible, awful thing we're doing, that sleep training
Yeah.
might be perceived as this terrible, awful thing. But I actually think it's the most loving thing you can do if it's done well. And that's my whole thing. This typically is a process that people comment through after working with me and say, that was actually a great experience. Like, I learned more about my baby or my child. I feel really comfortable about all the decisions we made, because it's all about the customization and the pace and the methodology that's appropriate for your family, and also the values of the parents. And that's
Yeah.
why I think with your friend, it's not just about the tasks associated with sleep training.
Mm-hmm.
It's this complex puzzle, and all the puzzle pieces need to be meticulously attended to get
Yeah.
this beautiful sleep transformation that Winnie and her family has experienced.
Yeah.
So thank you, Winnie.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Joanna. No, it's been great. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you
it's
for
been
sharing your
very
story.
transformational.
Yes, yes. And now we have a well-rested family, and that's what I want. Mom and dad well-rested, two girls well-rested, and with the new school year starting, it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Okay.
Winnie. Okay.
Okay. Take care.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Bye.